Hey folks, welcome to the Shut Up and Do It episode. It's a special episode today. I'm your host, Nick Aalerud, creator of the Complete Deal Flow System and a coach with AAREmentor.com and a single family and multifamily buyer in Greater Boston and beyond. We're super stoked today. This is going to be a special podcast episode. We don't necessarily have someone coming on and sharing their open-hearted story and pouring their heart out and telling us how they scaled the business, but instead, we have an extremely important, trusted vendor partner of ours. Burton is here to speak on it, and I'm going to have him give a little story about him while he comes back on. But I'll tell you right now, this particular tool that Burton's about to share with you guys has literally changed our entire business in a bunch of different ways. And I'm not going to waste any more time because I want you guys to literally see what this thing can do and what Burton stands behind. So, hey, Burton, thank you so much for joining us here today, man.
Hey, Nick, thanks for having me. And again, thanks everyone for watching this. Again, my name is Burton. I'm with PropStream.com. And today I'm actually going to be showing you guys what our system's all about. You've heard about it. You might have seen the demonstration. But today I'm going to show you exactly how an investor is going to want to approach our product and what you can do. All the types of searches, all the filtering, all the data that you're going to see in our product. So without further ado, let me get my screen over to you guys right now. So
awesome. Thanks for doing this, Burton. We appreciate it. And where are you hailing from today?
Excuse me, I'm sorry?
Where are you hailing from today? What part of the country?
We're in Southern California, and that's actually where our business is operated from. So we've been in business for about 14 years now. So it's been a philosophy since 2004. We finally, planted the seed in 2005. And for the last 14 years, we've actually been collecting data nationwide. So we have 11 listings that people are going to be able to filter through, but we actually have over 190 million property records in our database as well. So for those that are like driving for dollars and whatnot, they'll have access to that information simply by typing the address. But yeah, usually we're here, and here's the cool part. When you are in our system, and let me see if I can hit the refresh button for you. What we're going to do is we're going to just take the IP address and zoom in on your area, just so I can prove to you guys where I'm at. Here I am, Southern California, right in this little town called Lake Forest here. So thanks for asking. But yeah, this is our product. What we have done for real estate investors is that we have aggregated data for you guys. So we've partnered up with the brokers. We've just added about 700 MLS boards, giving us approximately about an 85% coverage nationwide on MLS listings. And when I say 85% coverage, I'm referring to direct access to those listings. So we're getting it directly from brokers, and then we'll push it in our system within about 24 hours. For the remaining 15%, we are getting those listings from a third party. So that has become a very pinnacle piece in our platform, especially for those that are like in a non-disclosure state, or if you're in an area where, let's say the county takes a month or two to record their sales, having access to MLS will allow you to see sales that occurred last week without having you to wait for that county. So we've done that, again, with the 190 million property records. You're gonna have access to searching on market properties and off market properties. But here's your playground, all of the United States, and you can actually search 5 different levels. First level, you can search as a county, and here's Fulton County, Georgia, as an example. And when you search an area, in this case, a county, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to zoom in on your market, right? So we're going to zoom in onto Fulton County. And then the next thing that you're going to see is right above the map, you're going to see what we call our canned searches. So these boxes, in just a second, they're going to get populated with all of the results that we have for each one of those categories. So, and if you give it just a few moments, but begin, as I'm waiting for those to load up, you're going to have, again, 11 categories to choose from. You can find all 11 categories in our filter, and that would be under list type. So we have, again, MLS listings. Those are active, pending, sold, failed, contingent. So whether you're trying to run comps or find expired listings or just curious to know what's around the area, you have access to MLS listings.
Sorry to interrupt you, man, because you're on a roll. I don't think I even gave this even a proper introduction. So folks, if you're joining us here, we have Burton from PropStream.com, but he had just mentioned, like, this is a national MLS and off MLS database, but he hasn't even scratched the surface yet. This tool specifically, please hang on there and watch this entire presentation, because it does so much more than even just pull the data. We're able to filter the data, organize the data, skip trace the data, and even reach out to people in that data. And if you guys stick around to the very end of this presentation, we're going to give you guys a special link where you can get a little promo on their one. So I'm sorry, Burton, you just like, I wanted to make people know to stick with us because it's not just a database, a list database.
I think that's a great bring up right there, because you're right. I mean, there in our market today, and with technology being the way it is today, there are thousands and thousands of providers that we can obviously choose from, right? No one company has the data that everybody needs. So, but I think what's important is how to effectively filter through that data, right? Because I can go to the county's office and get, 100 properties that are in pre-foreclosure, but what's the next step after getting that list? What information does that list provide me? Do I know equity? Do I know mortgage information, and so forth? So I think it's a very key component to understand that, yes, we can get data practically from anybody, but how that data is being presented to you, and then how you're able to micromanage that data. I think that's what the game changer is, and that's what has become our biggest success. Is we give our users over 100 different options to filter through. So in just a second, it looks like there's just a little bit lag here, Nick, pardon me, but in just a second, I'm going to show you guys actually a live demonstration of how I filter certain leads. Now, what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys a few examples on how to filter some motivated buyers. So rather than just looking for pre-foreclosures, we're going to show you guys how to build a list of motivated sellers that are not in pre-foreclosure. I'm going to show you how to do that as well with the vacant listings. And then I'm going to actually show everyone a very unique way of finding cash buyers that you're not going to find in any other platform at the moment. With PropStream.com, you'll have access to 5 layers of searches. You'll be able to search a county. In this case, when you search a county, we're going to zoom in on that area, and we're going to populate all of the unfiltered results for all the categories that we've collected for you. So the first box that you're going to see is all the MLS listings, as I mentioned. Second one would be the pre-foreclosures. To make your life easier, we've separated the pre-foreclosures with auctions in their own box. We have foreclosures. These are all your bank-owned properties and REO properties. We have cash bought properties. So these are the properties that were bought in cash. We have liens. These are all involuntary. So people with a tax lien, an HOA lien, a mechanical or utility lien. Vacant. This is from the United States Postal Service. So I do want to kind of explain this a little bit. So there's been a challenge with vacant listings, not just with our product, but with pretty much most data providers. And I think the issue that is there's a conflict of definition. So an investor's definition of vacant is an abandoned home, boarded up windows, long grass, like pretty much no one's in the home, right? Vacant property, it's physically vacant. However, vacant listings comes from the postal office, and their definition of vacant is not our definition. Their definition is an address that hasn't been answering their mail for 3 weeks or more. That's it. Whether it's new, old, whether it's abandoned or not abandoned, if they're not answering their mail for 3 weeks or more, they're on this vacant list. So I wanted to bring that up. The reason why I want to bring that up is if you don't filter it properly, you're going to see some recently sold properties. So again, these are properties that were sold a few weeks ago and the previous owner forgot to forward their mail. So here they are, right? So if I were to call these owners, pretty much wasting my time. They're under new ownership, and I'm sure they're not going to want to get rid of their property they just bought last month or a few weeks ago. So make sure you guys are aware that vacant listings, whether it's us or the next guy, comes from the Postal Service. So you got to make sure you filter through the last sell date or years of ownership for best practice on that one. And then high equity, these are all the properties that have 100,000 or more in equity, or 50% or more in equity. So this is a great starting point to find properties with a lot of equity. The key component here is that, again, not just anybody with equity is going to sell you their property. You're going to be able to use our filter to layer some motivation onto that. And I'll show you guys in just a second how to do that. And then we have the other 3 categories, which are only found in our filter. So these are the first 8. The last 3 are free and clear. Properties owned outright with no mortgages. We have bankruptcy recordings, and then we have divorce recordings. So all of our users, when they search an area, we're going to populate all of those 11 categories with results. You'll be able to click on one of those boxes and then start clicking on those properties manually, get a load of the details that we have. And every property, we're going to be able to provide you information on the mortgage, equity. If it's an MLS listed property, you'll be able to see the photos of those property to get an idea of, in this case, why it's sold and why it's sold for that certain amount. So you get an idea of what the rehab looked like. So again, whether it's for running comps and whatnot. But first level is county. You can then search a city. You can search zip codes, and you can search 1 or up to 5 zip codes. Second to last search you can perform is if you're, again, driving for dollars. So you can type in a specific address, and we're going to give you the results, the details to that address. So what we're going to do on the map is we're going to highlight the address in gray. We're going to show you the 25 neighbors around the property, and you're going to see that just here to the right are the 25 neighbors. We can click on MLS and see all the MLS listings. So in an instant, I can get some comps right away. Pre-foreclosures, as well as foreclosures. Now, if you are in the neighboring level and if you're very, very lucky, the streets will turn blue, as you see here. And if they turn blue, you can click on the street. We'll give you ground level view so you can see the condition of the property. And you can use the arrows, of course, to go back and forth. Or we have this really cool feature here that you can actually drag yourself around the map. So rather than using those arrows, we can go around the corner and see the school that's around the corner and then come back to our property if we need to.
That's awesome. If I could, oh, sorry, jump. You're still on your roll, man. You're doing great. Any chance that we could play in, let's say, Suffolk County, Massachusetts? That's all right.
Suffolk County, Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, that's Boston. Let's see if we can play there.
There we go. So here we have our results. There we go. So we have MLS listings, we have some pre-foreclosures, some properties in auction, cash buyers, liens. And actually, this is a great example. So that was searching for properties, a specific property. So now that, let's say we've searched an area or a specific property. In this case, we've searched a county, and I'm an investor. So now I'm trying to find some motivation, right? So obviously, I usually start with pre-foreclosures, highly motivated. So now I have 89 properties I can go through. But this is where the filtering comes into play. So rather than manually going through the 89 results, I can go into the filter, and I have over 100 different criteria I can stack on top of one another. So at the very top, the first thing we're going to ask you is, do you even want the owner occupying the property? So for those of you looking for absentee owners, you're going to say no. For those of you that are looking for an owner occupying the property, you're going to hit yes, or both, you're going to hit any. Next, we're going to choose the list that we want to filter through. So we could choose any of the 11. In this example, we're going to choose pre-foreclosure. And at that point, now we start working downwards. So beginning with property characteristics, what type of pre-foreclosure are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for a single family and a multifamily pre-foreclosure property that's in pre-foreclosure. I can apply a year built, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot square footage, and home features. Once I'm done with property characteristics, now I can go to the MLS status. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking these 89 results and I'm now cross-referencing it with our MLS listings. And what I mean by cross-referencing it is I can add a layer to it. So I can say, hey, show me all the pre-foreclosures that were on the MLS and failed. So these are 7 properties that have a pre-foreclosure that try to call an agent and try to list it through the agent, but it failed, right? So that option's out of the way now. Their only alternative now is either buy their property at the auction, lose their property, or talk to me about a potential cash offer. So all I did, again, is simply go to the MLS status and choose fail. And now I'm able to take these 89 properties, go through the 17,000 results, and find that 7 of them were listed but failed. Or if not failed, we can do active, sold. We can play with the listing amount, listing date, days on market, whether it's listed as a rental or below market price. So you might find someone that maybe is in pre-foreclosure and they're desperate, so they're just listing it at below market price. Or last but not least, on market. So what if we just want a property that didn't fail or just never got on the market to begin with? So we're looking for a property owner that is in pre-foreclosure and has not yet reached out to a broker. So we'll hit on market no, and then our results will isolate. The next category,
I'm going to jump in there too, Burton. That's a huge checkbox, especially in here. We have a lot of licensees that are also wholesalers or rehabbers, and they know that person, their broker, and I did a presentation on this. It's completely illegal to be marketing to people who are on the market if you're a licensee and you have access to the MLS locally here in Boston. So the fact that you can literally filter and say, you know what, I want to exclude anybody who's on the market right now, so it saves you and your VA so much work by having to go and scrub that against MLS data. So thank you for that little checkbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now that we're done cross-referencing one list to the next list, or pre-foreclosures to MLS, we now can add details to our pre-foreclosure. Since we're doing a pre-foreclosure search, the pre-foreclosure status would accommodate that search. So here I can play with the status or the document type. So I'm looking for a pre-foreclosure with a notice of trustee recording or a notice of default recording or any other recording that you see fit. I can play with the listing date, which is very important because we are going to show you records from today all the way until 6 months ago, right? So starting almost February. So if you're looking for the most recent ones, then you're definitely going to want to play with the listing date. For example, show me the pre-foreclosures that were recorded June 1st and after. So only the ones that are within the last 30 to 60 days. I can play with the default amount or the auction date. So show me the pre-foreclosures that are going to be held for auction starting August 15th or after, or between August 15th and the end of the month. And that's the foreclosure status. So it's important for this search, because I am searching pre-foreclosures, for me to apply my pre-foreclosure details. And in this example, I'm just making sure that I'm getting the most freshest recordings by filtering a listing date or recording date. The next category is ownership info. So now we can specify how many years the owner has lived in their property, or when they last bought it, or whether the property is owned by a corporate or individual. So in this case, I'm going to choose individuals because I don't want to talk to an 800 number, don't want to talk to a receptionist, just want to talk to the owner directly. I can play with the last sale price, whether the owner is registered out of state. So if I am looking for an absentee owner, I can add another level of distress, right? So you have a property, it's in pre-foreclosure, and you live in a different state. Like, could you imagine the headache that could take? Now they have to, deal with the property in a whole different state, talk about flying or hiring someone to take care of that mess. We can go in there and offer them a nice offer and then maybe just take that property from them and get rid of that headache. So out-of-state owner is important for those that are looking for absentee owners. You can isolate the ones that are, again, in a whole different state. And then vacant. Are these addresses also not answering their mail? So that's the ownership info. And the rest is just adding more layers. So these properties I know are in pre-foreclosure, but I can add another level of distress, such as it has a lien, so I can check this off, or a divorce, or a bankruptcy. I can play with the recording date, the lien amount, and the type of lien that's assigned to that property. So I'm looking for a property in pre-foreclosure that also has an HOA lien, right? Because that's letting me know, hey, if they can't pay an HOA lien, probably aren't going to be able to pay off that pre-foreclosure default either. So I'm going to go in there, give them an offer, and just to add the cherry on top, I'll take care of that lien of theirs too, and they'll be very happy, right? So there's, again, layers that you can apply manually. And so we're not just looking for pre-foreclosures, we're looking for pre-foreclosures with other layers to it. And then the last two categories after adding a lien, a divorce, or bankruptcy, whether you want to or not, would be value trend. So what's the estimated value of the property, or what would the property rent out for on a monthly basis? How has the property grown in the last month or a year? And last, but certainly not least, the equity and mortgage info. So now we can specify, hey, we need this property, even though it's gone through all of this stuff, we need at least $50,000 in equity, or we need at least 50% in equity, which you can do here on the right-hand side. So at least 60% in equity or more, because obviously we're going to wholesale the property or we're going to fix and flip it. So equity and mortgage information, not just pinnacle for wholesalers, but if you're maybe a lender or you're someone that does subject twos, you can find people with a high loan to value ratio, or someone with a very high interest rate, or an individual with a certain loan type, whether the property was bought in cash at one point or whether it's currently free and clear. So this is our very comprehensive filtering system. This is where an individual is going to be able to find a least motivated property and add these characteristics, or search an area, add certain characteristics, and now find the motivation, right? And again, these are people that may, in this case, be prior to, or that are not on the market yet, right? So there is something going on and they have not reached out to the broker yet. So filtering is going to be your best friend. Once you hit apply, guys, you now have your results on the right-hand side. So here are my 7 results out of the 89. The next step is to click on that property, and now I have 11 sources working on one page for you. What I mean by that is, beginning with the dashboard, we have photos of the property, we have the property characteristics for you, we have our estimated value. So our system is going to run an ARV calculation for you and it's going to tell you what we believe the ARV is for this property in today's market. It's going to tell you whether it's on market or off market. In this case, it's off because we specify that. Is the property distress? Yes, it's in pre-foreclosure. Are there any liens that you also have to worry about with this particular property? Nope, don't have to worry about it. It's individually owned, owner occupied, and it's a multifamily property. To the right of that, I have again the estimated value that we've calculated and the last sale date. Now, these two boxes, those information are scattered right down here in these two categories. So we're able to see now the owner's name, if there's an alternative mailing address, property characteristics, site information, assessment information, last sale, which includes the mortgage amount. So this is how we calculate the mortgage balance, is rather than just getting the recorded sell amount from the county, we go above and beyond and we go find the title information, because we know that usually there's a down payment involved, right? In this case, it was like a $13,000 down payment. So the mortgage is actually $247,000. It was originated in 2000, and here's their interest rate. So we're able to take those variables and amortize or reverse calculate the payments for you and show you what we believe is the current mortgage balance. Now you're probably wondering, well, Burton, it says 247 up there. Why is it 268 up here? Well, here's why. We're able to go into the mortgage information and see any activity after the initial sale. So this is why the mortgage balance is high, is because they bought it back in 2000, which our records show, but in the last few years, in 2002, it looks like they refinanced. A year later, they refinanced again, and then back in 2008, they did perhaps a home equity line of credit. So with these new activities, it's going to increase the balance. And then since the last activity was in 2008, we assume they haven't been pulling out any activity and then been making payments on that total balance. Therefore, the mortgage is roughly right around here, plus or minus. This is how our system is able to calculate what we believe the mortgage balance is. Again, it's not perfect. We don't know if Micheline here has been making extra payments. We don't know, in this case, if she's not been making payments. So if she's not been making payments or she's been making extra payments, then clearly that's going to be a different cost. But our goal is to give you an idea of where they should be, plus or minus, if they've been making the minimum payments. And now with the mortgage balance and knowing what the estimated value is or the comps, I now know how much equity I have to essentially make sure I get a good enough assignment fee or my return on investment is lucrative, essentially. So again, these two boxes, scattered in property details and pre-foreclosure details. But what if you don't like our estimated value? What if you're skeptical like I am all the time? Or what if you don't like the comps that were given to you automatically? Well, don't worry about it. We give you the ability to run your own comparables. So by clicking on the comparables in nearby listing, now every property has this section here. We're going to show you all the comparables and all the listings around that property. So beginning with comparables, you have three categories to choose from. Comps, which are the county records. So we're going to show you, in this case, the 39 comps within a half-mile radius, but you'll be able to add more filters to it. So show me comps in the last 60 days. Being that this property is a 6-bedroom property, show me the 6-bedroom and 3-bathroom comps, and then we can increase or decrease our radius as well. But once we do that, you guys can see that we now have 24 selected, a new average sell comp. So it's a little bit higher than the comps that our system gave you. But not only that, you get to actually still manually choose what you want and what you don't want. So the thing that I normally like to do is go through my list and compare apples to apples. So again, we have some 9-bedroom properties. Those are too much. So I'm going to cap it out to 6-bedroom. And now here are my 11 selected. And now we're a little bit more within reason. So all my 6-bedroom properties, 3 bathrooms. And here's the fun part that I really like. So you're going to see some results in green. What that's showing you is a cash bought property. So here's a comp, right? It fits the characteristics, but it was bought in cash. So probably not a good comp. I'm going to go ahead and deselect those because usually cash bought properties are much lower than listed properties. So the green ones are bad for comps, but they're definitely good for knowing who that buyer is, right? So I always look at it in a positive. Yeah, I can't use the green ones as comps, but I can click on their details and now I know who the buyer is. So I know
And
how much they have, and I know who the buyer is and where they're located at now. So
that's huge. And you know what? I don't want to transition there yet. I want to really drive home this point, guys. So what he's showing you here with these comps, right? These are both on MLS, but also off MLS comps. And just for the record, we are very skeptical of like, Zillow values and like there's a few other like national aggregators that claim to have good ARVs, right? We did a spot
right.
check test here. It was in May of this past year with 5 different subject properties that we had just brought in with seller leads. And I'm just going to say this and share this with my audience. Like all 5 of them within $8,000 of the ARV we pulled from the MLS was PropStream. But the difference is obviously PropStream, number one, saved us a solid, 10 to 12 minutes per comp check. Also, PropStream does allow, I don't know if you're going to get this later, but if you guys have virtual assistants helping you pull these values, I got to tell you, this was an added bonus because we didn't see that's coming. But our VA was not able to pull comps in our MLS system because they actually block any IPs coming from the Philippines. You guys, God bless PropStream, right? Allows her to come in here and helps us pull this data for us, so it's more accurate than just the MLS because we're getting off-market data, and it allows people who are on our team to pull it for us. So keep going. You're doing great.
Yeah, that's correct. And so, yeah, this is just running county recorded comps. And so not only am I able to pick out my own comps and filter my own comps, I could see the cash bought properties and find my buyers now, right? Because, hey, they're already in the area. So I usually like to check those guys out. But ultimately, once you narrow down, in this case, my 7 results, my new sell price, I can now hit view report, and instantaneously we're giving you a comps report. So you guys can see what it's going to look like. It's going to show your buyers what the low, what the high, and what the average is. So here's the subject property. Here are the comps. And it's just pretty much telling your buyers, hey, look, depending on how much you want to put into rehab, you can get as low as 400,000, as high as $1 million, or as average within the $700, the $1,000 range. So granted, they're going to need to know zoning, right? There are going to be some areas that might be north a few blocks that are $1 million, right? Number 6 might be one of them, right? Number 3 here is an example, south, worth $1.2 million on the sale. So that might be a bad comp. We remove that, and now our value goes a lot lower, a lot higher again, depending on, but that's county records. If you're in a non-disclosure state, then county or neighboring records aren't going to help you out. And I like neighboring records because you might come across a situation where you're looking at a property built in 1920. So none of the comps are going to help you out because they're all modern built comps. So neighboring is going to help you compare apples to apples, right? If your property was built in 1920, there's a high probability your neighbors were also built in the same year. And with the neighboring comps, you're going to be able to see properties that sold. In this case, a property that sold 2 years ago or a year ago and what it sold for. But last, and certainly not least, to your attention, to what you brought to everyone's attention, Nick, is the MLS listings. So now you've become the realtor without having a license. You have now access to the most recent 150 MLS listings within a 1 mile radius around this property. So here I can see all my failed, active, sold listings, but even better, you can filter. So show me all the MLSs starting April 1st, so within the last 90 days, that are 6 bedrooms. I can put bathroom square footage. I can increase or decrease my distance. And last but not least, I can specify what status it's in. So show me all my MLS sold comps in the last 90 days. Looks like I don't have any here. Let me increase the distance. And now I should be able to get a few results for you. And then I can see active. So here's one that sold and what it sold for, $599. This is a great example, right? $599, it sold in April or May. Look at the square footage. We have more square footage, 300 more to be exact. We have 1 more bathroom bigger than that property. Our property is just 10 years older, but hey, that alone lets me know that my property could potentially list more than $600,000, right? So instant apples to apples, or we can show all the active. So now we can see why a property that's similar to ours is currently listed for $699. So we can click on that property, go to the details, and now we can look at the MLS details. And sometimes we'll have access to the photos, but we're going to be able to see the details and why it's being listed for $699. So again, when you're providing comps to your buyers, or you yourself are trying to run comps, you want the evidence to justify that ARV. And here it is, guys. The comparables and nearby listings is your evidence. You'll be able to pull county records, neighboring records, or MLS listings onto a report and present that to your buyers. So when you're telling your buyer, hey, this contract of $300,000 that I'm selling you, the ARV is $700,000, and here's why. Here are some county records to show you in the last 9 months. Here are some MLS listings to show you in the last 60 days. So I want to let you guys know about that. I know I spent a little bit more time on that because, again, if you're like me, you're always skeptic. And if you're a buyer, you're even more skeptic. So make sure you guys print out your evidence and present your offer with this stuff, okay? So other than comparables and nearby listings, we have tax information, again, mortgage information, transaction history to show you what's going on, and last but not least, documents and reports. So every one of our properties in our system has this layout. You'll be able to run your comps, look at the mortgage information, analyze, what they owe, where their equity is at. And if you really like what you're seeing, just hit that print button, guys. And every property that you hit print on will generate a CMA report for you. So this is, you can literally print this out and just give it to your buyer. But this is the property, its characteristics, ownership history. Here are the comps and nearby listings. And then here are the statistics for you. So in a minute, it looks like I did a lot of homework. All I did was hit the print button, show this to a buyer, and they're probably going to be really convinced that I'm not wasting their time, right? It's not a piece of paper or an email that says, hey, here's the ARV, here's a few. No, this is a full out report that says, hey, I've done my homework. You should check out this property. So we have a lot of tools for you guys to help you analyze this property, not just from printing the reports to running comps. You even have an analysis wizard to run your return on investment. On top of the analysis wizard, we even have a rehab calculator. So you can run rehab on a property and get local level costs. Our rehab calculator is hosted by a company called Bluehammer. If you Google them, you're going to realize that this is a company that's nationwide. They usually deal with insurance providers. So when someone like crashes into a kitchen, that insurance company is usually calling Bluehammer to get local level costs. Now again, local level costs on an average. The goal here is to give you the average cost of that project. It's not to tell you what it's going to cost, but it's going to say, hey, you know that bathroom that you wanted to do in that zip code? Well, the average is about $14,000. So that way, and when I call a contractor, if I didn't know that it was $14,000 on average, if I call a contractor and they say, hey, it's $22,000 to do that bathroom, I wouldn't have known that they're way above average without knowing that information. So again, I don't want you guys to be convinced that the rehab calculator is going to tell you exactly what the dollar amount is for that project. It's going to average all of the projects in that area and tell you where it should be plus or minus. So that way you're not caught off guard when someone says a higher price, 10,000 more or 8,000 more, or even less. There might be someone that says, hey, I can do it for $6,000. And then you realize that they're not going to take care of any of the trash debris from the construction. So very important thing that you guys know that we have a lot of tools, and this is what you're going to see when you're pulling up property. So every property that you click on, in this case, my 7 pre-foreclosures that I've isolated have those details. Once I have my results and I've analyzed them, ran my comps, I can now check them off and add it to a list. So here's my Suffolk County pre-foreclosures, and I have an OCD to make sure I spell things right. So there we go. But let me actually now dive into, I mean, we all know pre-foreclosures, but let me show you why we've become even extremely more popular. So let's take it to a whole different area that I've never been, but I've been eyeing recently. So Maricopa County, Arizona, right? So again, it's going to give you my county results. I'm going to use vacant listings as an example because, again, we get a lot of challenges. Burton, your vacant listings are inaccurate. I called somebody. They recently bought the property. You guys are inaccurate. So let me show you what happens. If you search an area and click on vacant and don't filter anything, again, you're going to see properties that recently sold. As I mentioned earlier, these are properties that someone forgot to forward their mail. So how do you effectively filter vacant properties? Here's how I do it. I go to filter. And in order to get rid of those recently sold, I go to ownership info and I add a years of ownership. In this example, 5 years minimum. So now I'm telling the system, okay, go through the list of vacant properties, all the properties that are not answering their mail, but just show me the ones where someone has lived there for 5 years or more. And here are my 19,000 properties. So beginning with number 1, This property sold back in 2014. So it wasn't recently sold. It was sold 5 years ago. And now they're not answering their mail. Like, that is a solid lead. Without filtering it, I know why the first few are on that list is because someone forgot to forward the mail. In this case, I can't answer the reason why they didn't answer their mail anymore. I mean, for the last 5 years, they've been answering their mail, and now this month they're on this list. Something is going on, and now I can click on that property and see all the results or all the issues. In this case, I could see the mortgage balance and their equity, and hey, that property is potentially worth some value for me. Or we can add more layers of distress. So not only am I looking for years of ownership and not answering their mail, but show me the ones that have filed for bankruptcy as well. So now I have 75 properties that have a bankruptcy recorded on them, and they're not answering their mail. So you see how we went from 37 addresses that are not answering their mail to 75 very hot leads. And again, we can add more filters, just like I did earlier. Show me the ones that are off market. So now we've gone down to 68 of them. So there, of the 75, 70 of them are on the MLS. Here's 68 of them that are not on the MLS. So person has filed for bankruptcy, mortgage balance, and we have an equity, some levels of distress. So again, guys, filtering is your best friend because that's going to allow you to build either a very motivated homeowner or a very least motivated homeowner, depending on what your business, goals are ultimately. But the last thing I want to wrap it up with is showing you guys how to use our system to find buyers. Now, typically people use cash bought records to find buyers, and we have the same records. So in this case, we have over 250,000 records that you can go through in Maricopa County to find a potential buyer. So these are people that have bought a property in cash, whether for personal or investment reasons. So what most people will do to find a buyer is they'll go to our filter and say, show me a non-owner occupied cash bought property, right? Usually an investor will buy a property, never live in it. They'll buy it, rehab it, and then sell it later on. So that's what we're doing. We're looking for non-owner occupied cash bought properties. And in just a second, we cut the list in half to 155. Other things that we can do is specify when they last bought it. So I want buyers that bought a property last year, today's date. So they have only owned the property within 12 months. So they bought it within 12 months. I have now 140 results. I can specify property type. So I need a buyer that's buying a single family property built in 1970 to 2000. And as you guys see, our list will continue to get narrow and narrow. But here's the challenge, right? Although this is a very effective way of finding buyers, narrowing down the time frame, whether they occupy the property, whether they're a corporate-owned entity or individually owned entity, is all great. Nothing wrong with that. But remember, you have access to the MLS now. So what I'm about to show you guys is something that you're not going to see in any other platform. So be sure to get your notes out. But I'm going to show you guys a filter on how to find some really solid buyers. And then to do that, it's pretty much the same approach. So we're going to search an area. We're going to find cash buyers, all the non-owner occupied ones. We're going to find the single family, multifamily buyers. But this is where we get to actually find the real buyers. So I can now go to the ownership info and specify when these guys bought the property. And in this example, I'm looking for a buyer that bought a property between, let's say, August of last year to December of last year. So they bought a property in cash between August and December. And here's how I know that they're really an investor. I get to go to the MLS status and say, show me the ones that then listed it after the new year. Okay, so did you guys see what I did there? I told the system, go to the 200,000 records that you have of buyers, but only find me the ones that are between August and December. So they bought a property in cash within those 4 months, and then they must have rehabbed it or done something with it. But after the new year, so after buying it last year, this January 1st or after, so here January 1st or later, they listed it on the market. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have 122 solid cash buyers. And how do I know that they're solid cash buyers? I'll show you. When I click on the property, I get to see the cash sale tab. So this person bought it for $720,000 on December 31st. And here's the company name and the company's address. And I get to see the MLS details. And look how much they're listing it for now. So this is an investor, right? They bought it in cash for $720,000. And then 6 months later, they're now flipping it for $1.6 million. And guess what? We can even confirm that they're an investor by clicking on the photos if they're available. And now we can see the interior. We can see the actual rehab that was performed on the property itself. So here you can see landscaping has been done. And then here's some interior photos for you guys. So very, very unique way of finding buyers. Again, you're not going to find this in any other platform. All I did was specify when they bought it and then made sure that they listed it right after. And here in Maricopa County, I have 122 buyers. And again, all I have to do is click on the property, see what they bought it for, who the buyer is, where their address is, and see what they're listing it for later on. So I wanted to end it with that. Again, that's our filtering system. And just like I showed you guys, you then can check off the property, call it the buyer's list, and we're done. Now, the last thing that you can do in the search page is save that search. So I can actually save the search, call it the buyer's search, add my details or summarize my details. I can even replace a box if I wanted to up here. But last but certainly not the least, is I can have the system email me anytime a new buyer that populates with this criteria, or a pre-foreclosure, or a lien, or any criteria that you save, we can email you immediately, daily, or weekly. So if you have a VA, set up a filter and set up an immediate notification, and now your VA is getting an email every time a new result populates. So they don't have to go in there and manually try to find the new results. We're going to tell them what the new results are. And here's what it looks like, actually, guys. Here's one. It says, hey, 1,700 new properties have been added to your MLS active criteria. So there it is. And now you can click on it and it will take you back to your platform. So it's going to look like this. You can then go to your all searches and find your list. So here is my MLS active. And now there are my results just like that. And now my VA can check them all off, add it to a list. And just remember, all your results will be stored in the properties page. So here is where you'll be able to click on any of your marketing lists that you saved. You can micromanage it one last time. You can click on the properties and analyze them. You can check them off and move them into different groups or different lists. Or most importantly, you can check them off and export them onto a CSV file. So if you're just here for the data, once you build your list, go to the properties page. So that is our building a list and export feature. If you guys don't know how to skip trace or how to get phone numbers or how to market to it, we got you covered, because we have a skip tracing feature here. All you have to do is click on skip tracing, follow steps 1, 2, and 3, which is pretty much choose a list that you've saved. So here's my buyer's list, check them off, hit done. You can make the payments, you can pay for your list, place your order, and name it. So my buyer's list. And once you place the order, all orders will be stored in the contacts page. That's where you get your contacts, right? So here in the contacts page, at the bottom left, you're going to be able to see your results. So here's my buyer's list, and it's currently processing right now, but in about 10, 15 minutes, that list is going to look just like this. It's going to say completed, and we're going to show you all the results on that list. You now have phone numbers and emails, so you can now cold call. So if you want to do that, check them all off and hit the export button, and you now have a list of the property owners, their addresses, and their phone numbers. This is also a cool thing because you can import an outside list. So you guys can import into the system. So if you're working with ListSource, or you have a different list, or let's say a divorce attorney in your neighborhood says, hey, I have 100 addresses you should look into. You can import that list into our system and upload it. And once you upload it, here's an example of what it's going to look like. You then can skip trace it. So once you have your list uploaded, you can click on skip tracing and upload it into the skip tracing provider, and then they're going to get you phone numbers on a list that you didn't even get from us, on a list that you got from a different provider. So whether you're trying to skip trace our data or an outside data, you have that option in the contacts page. Once you get your results, guys, just like I have here, once you get your results, the last and final thing that you can do in our platform is the campaign page.
All right, hold on, wait. I
So
gotta stop you, Burton. Like, okay, I want to really press upon folks who. Thank you, by the way. You're still watching us. It's the skip trace feature. So I don't even know if you saw this. Burton's going real fast. There's tons of stuff to get through right here, right? But even the skip trace factor itself, it takes us, before PropStream, we had 4 different systems, right? We had pulling the data, we had data manipulation, then we had a skip trace provider, right? We had to upload it there. Then, by the way, huge point, Burton, the skip trace providers that most of us use or are familiar with, they have minimums, right? They have a minimum of 100 or 500 or 1,000 leads before they'll even skip trace for you. This, again, has changed even just our drive-by database, right? So we have our team going out there writing down addresses of what look to be abandoned properties, which, by the way, a fantastic list that we then need to skip trace. Well, if we don't have 100 or 150 of those at a time, PropStream is a solution for the skip trace feature. And I will now let you go on to the next feature, which is our fourth or fifth system we used to use outside of PropStream that now PropStream can handle for you. Continue. Sorry.
Exactly. As I told you, a lot of different websites in one, but the last feature, as you mentioned, is our campaign section. So here, and as you guys can see, I'm really just going in the order, right? We searched, we saved our results in the properties page, we skip trace, and those results are stored in our contacts page. And the last step is now to campaign to them directly. So I can start a new campaign here at the top left. I can name that campaign, so Maricopa Buyers, and now I can choose the list of people I want to campaign to. So it's going to show me all the marketing lists that I have. In this case, I'm going to go all the way to the very bottom, and I'm going to choose my buyers list that I just skip traced. And actually, I'm curious, did we get results already? Oh, not yet. So they're still populating. We should get that in a few minutes. But you get to essentially campaign directly to a certain audience, or more than one. So not only am I campaigning to my 104 buyers, but I can add another group. So I can campaign to my buyers in Akron, Texas, or Ohio, or something like that. So you can definitely campaign to more than one audience as you see fit. But once you've named your campaign and you've chose your list, you can hit save. And now you've started your campaign. And every campaign that you create, and this is a very important part, every campaign that you create, you get one free landing page. It's a one free website. It's a one-page website. It's free. The idea here is that we don't want you to use the same website over and over, right? I know you guys have your own websites, but think about it. If I'm a buyer and you're trying to get a hold of me and you're saying, hey, let's do a business together, and you say, come visit my website, and go to your website, there's a lot of things that I'm going to see on that website that's probably irrelevant to what I want, right? This landing page allows you to caretake to that specific audience and that specific audience alone. So in this example, I'm doing Maricopa Buyers. I'm going to set up my website. I get to change my website name. So here's the generic URL we're going to give you. This number is this number here. So we can change it. I can say buyer's best friend, Burton. And it's going to say, hey, that works. So now instantaneously, when my buyers get my postcard or they get my email or my voicemail, they're going to see that URL or hear the URL, and they're going to be like, hey, this guy's actually a very professional, or he's taking it a step above everybody else, and he's created a website, and he's probably successful because he created a customized website with a customized URL, right? Some people think that way. Second is, where would you like the emails to be sent to? So by default, it's your username. Third is, do you want us to store your design if you're going to use it again later on? And then the last is, do you want to start with a blank website or a predefined one? So if you do a predefined website, here's a background image, but you guys get the idea. We can put maybe the property that we're trying to sell to the buyer in the background. We can add a logo at the top, and we can add up to 5 images, maybe the images of the rehab that needs to get done on the property. But ultimately, what you're able to do is apply a header text and a body text. So remember, I'm trying to promote to buyers. I'm not trying to show anything else but, hey, buyers, this is what I'm trying to do for you. So we can capture their attention by saying, how would you like to make 150K in profit? Boom, just like that. I've now caught their attention. I have a contract for 300K, ARV is 650K. So you can see, instead of sending them to a whole different website, I'm going to send them to this website. And when they go to this website, this is what they're going to see. The property, my logo, 5 images of the property's distress, maybe the bathroom or the kitchen that needs to be remodeled. And it's going to say right then and there, how would you like to make 150K in profit? I have a contract for 300K, ARV 650. And then they just fill out the form. If they really want that deal, they'll fill out the form, and then you get an email. So now you're in control of the operation, not them controlling the conversation. So our website's important for that very reason. You're going to caretake to that particular audience. So in this case, cash buyers, get a cash buyer's website. If I'm sending marketing leads to, or sending marketing to tax liens, well, my website's not going to talk about how much they can make in profit. It's going to talk about how fast I can close that deal with them, or how I can provide some solutions to their problems. So want to show you guys that, because having a website, I think, is very important. Ours is for free. Every campaign you create, in this case, this is the dashboard. Here's my website for the Maricopa buyers. But if I go to the Akron, Ohio tax liens, I have a website for that as well. So we, again, give you a free website for each one of your campaigns. Once you create the website, this is the dashboard. Now you'll have 3 campaigns to perform. First is postcards. So by default, you can send a standard or a larger size card. We have several templates for you to choose from, and these are dynamic. They'll automatically put the home addresses of the homeowners in the card for you, as well as their name, and kind of give you guys an idea of what that's going to look like. So I chose a card, and here when I hit print preview, it's going to slap the name of the address on there for you. So this is one of the addresses that are on my list. It's going to put my phone number and my website on there for you. And then after we set up the postcard, you're going to be able to print and mail it right away from our system. So you'll be able to hit publish, and at additional costs, you'll be able to place an order, and then we're going to send it directly to the home addresses for you guys. So you guys don't even have to lift a finger. We're not going to send these cards to you guys. We're going to just send them directly to your leads with the dynamic texting in there. Or if you don't want to use our postcards, you guys can actually just start a blank one. So let me clear it out for you guys. So here's what a blank card looks like. You can add your own image or just create one from scratch. So our postcards are either for the advanced users or just the starting out users. After you set up your postcards and place your postcards, 2 last remaining campaigns. One is the ringless voicemail drop. Very easy, 4 simple steps. 1, add your caller ID. 2, add your recording. So name your recording and upload your own file. Or if you're like me and you don't know how to do any of the recording stuff, hit create new, obtain a PIN. We're going to give you an 800 number and a PIN number. So you can just do your recording by phone. You don't have to be an expert at recording stuff. You don't have to have these elaborate devices. If you just have a phone and this PIN number, they'll do the recording over the phone for you. Once you hit save new recording, your recording is now stored, and you can hit play and listen to your recording. And then third step is schedule. So we can send the calls immediately, being that today is Wednesday, we'll send them between 9 and 5, or we can block off days. So let's say I want to send it on Friday instead of Wednesday or Thursday. So what I'm going to do, I'm sorry, today's Thursday. So instead of sending it Thursday, we're going to send it on Friday, or better yet, let's set it on Saturday. So what we're going to do is we're going to block off Thursday by choosing the same time frame. So when I do 9 to 9, it's going to say no deliveries on Thursday. Same with Friday, 9 to 9, no deliveries. So the delivery will be made on Saturday, but I'm going to make it on Saturday at, let's say, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to about 6 p.m. So when I place this order, it's going to not place the order Thursday or Friday. The calls will be made out starting Saturday. And the last step is how many calls do you want us to make per minute? So we can do 1 call every minute or 30 calls every minute. And as you guys can see here, I have 100 results. So that would take me either 100 minutes, 10 minutes if I did 10 calls a minute, or in about 3 minutes, 4 minutes to be exact. If I did 30, my message has now been delivered to 104 potential cash buyers. So once I've made my 4 selections, I'm going to hit save and activate, and your voicemail campaign is completed. And the last campaign we have is email.
I'm going to throw out there too, for those of you listening, and Bert, you might already know too, there's been some talk, especially down in Florida, of the legality of ringless voicemails. So that you guys watching this, just obviously this is at your own risk, right? I'm assuming PropStream does not take any liability. So, you know, it's depending on your state, it could be a really great business decision. Sometimes just be careful. That's all we're going to say.
Yeah, and that's a great bring up. Yeah, because Florida is one of the states that has some legality issues with it. So rule of thumb, I would always recommend what's the policies on ringless voicemail in my state, and you'll be able to see that information. The third and final campaign is email campaign, and it's very similar to the postcard. The only thing that we do differently is email subject line. So, hey, cash buyers, let's make 150K. Click through URL. So if you created a website with us, we're going to put the website automatically in the email, meaning if they click on the picture of the email or the learn more button, they'll get redirected to your website, your landing page, or you can put a different website like your Facebook page or your official website. Last three things are, do you want us to send it immediately or later on? Do you want us to save your design? And do you want to start with a blank or predefined one? And here, again, very similar to the website and postcard. Only last thing that you can do is choose the layout. But once you're done choosing your layout, you can hit publish, or you can preview it and actually email it to yourself. So you can email it to yourself to see what it's going to look like way before you publish it, to just make sure that, you know, the font looks good, it's capturing their attention and whatnot. But that's pretty much it. Those are the three campaigns you can do. And you don't have to just do one. You can do as many as you'd like. So here's an example of, here's one that I've done where you can see you can do as many campaigns as you want. You can do one postcard. You can do 5, 7 different emails, 3 different voicemails. You can add more activities. So I can do another voicemail if I wanted to. So that is PropStream.com in a nutshell for you guys. And I appreciate your patience with us. I know it was a very thorough explanation, but again, I'm a firm believer. I'm going to show you guys everything, and especially like how to find those buyers that you're not going to find in any other platform, how to do the marketing, how to just see what we have to offer, because hey, it's like test driving a car. You want to know this stuff. That way you're not wasting, you know, in our trial period that you're going to get, we rather you use the trial to go find leads. I don't want you to use the trial to figure out the platform. And this is why we're doing this today for you guys.
You got it. Holy cow. So folks, if you stayed with us for the entire webinar here and podcast today, like this is literally the all-in-one solution, right? And the only thing, and it's almost good, Burton, I'm going to say the one thing that PropStream is missing, which is a good thing, is that it's not necessarily the actual CRM that once they respond, right? Now we're collecting the seller database that respond through the websites, through the emails back, through the phone numbers. But guys, this is your all-in-one solution of attracting off-market deals and attracting cash buyers before they get into your CRM. Like 4 systems in one, no minimums. VAs can log in and help you with this. National data. So if you're in multi-states or you want to start wholesaling in different, you know, areas of the country, holy crap, this has like changed our whole world, man. And like Burton, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for, you know, diving in and showing us everything.
Of course, that's the least I can do. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate it. And we don't hide from you guys. So last thing I want to show you guys is the help tab on the far left side. Several video tutorials for you guys. Another overview, just like we did today, a little bit more in detail there. But give us a call. I mean, I actually answer the phone calls sometimes, so you might even get a hold of me. So ask me questions or shoot us an email. I mean, we're here to help you guys understand the platform. The last thing I want to end it up with, guys, is that please make sure to thank Nick. He's a great negotiator, so he was able to convince us to hook you guys up. So we are going to give you guys a 7-day trial period, but we're also going to give you guys a discounted price. So whatever you do, do not go to our website directly and sign up. Nick is actually going to give you a link to use to get that discounted price and that trial period. So again, do not go to our website and sign up directly. Make sure you guys click on Nick's link and get that discount. I don't want you guys to pay full price unless you want to. I mean, you can see the product is probably worth it, but hey, save those few bucks, use those few bucks for your skip tracing, use those few bucks for your postcards and for your voicemail drops.
You nailed it. And Burton, thank you for hooking us all up with that discount. Guys, if you want that discount, you believe in this product, we still use it on a day-to-day basis for everything on that side of it. You can check it out at aarementor.com/PropStream. That's aarementor.com/PropStream. That will be in the show notes. Burton, obviously support@PropStream.com. Once you're in the system for your support, Burton, you've been awesome today, man. I thank you for spending the full hour with us, going through everything. And you even showed me a bunch of tips that I probably should have already known, but I did not know. So.
No worries, man. And hey, trust me, I've been working here for several years and speaking to investors like yourself and your students. I mean, I'm learning all sorts of strategies, and this market fluctuates. I mean, right now property values are skyrocketing, which only means something's bound to happen in the near future. So I'm sure new strategies are going to show up in that near future. So again, we're always going to collect data for you guys, and I think the filtering is the most important part, because as this industry is going to shift with new strategies or get rid of the older strategies, this filtering is going to really help you guys out. So hey, don't ever thank me for doing what we do. We're happy to do this and show you guys what we're about. So again, don't hesitate. Feel free to give me a call. And Nick, thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it.
You got it, Burton. All right, guys, we will see you on the next webinar or podcast based on where you are right now in your viewing pleasure. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks so much, everybody.